Okay, so I was just it's still my birthday. It's still my birthday. And I was just had dinner with my family, and I don't know why, but it's become like I think it's a tradition now. I don't know how this happened, but a candlelight dinner, I guess. My mom just like lighting up a million candles. Uh, this is hilarious. And I don't know, I love like stew, so she like roasted some of this deer meat and it was really, really good. And we're gonna have cheesecake. I love cheesecake. And like it's like a healthy cheesecake, so yay. Anything healthy, I'll take it. Um but yeah, I'm just really thankful. It's been a good day. For the most part. I am very, 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 very grateful. But I'm going to talk about love. Love. So, love, oh, dang it. I should have got my, you know what? Oh, I do have it. I do have it. Oh my god, yes. Yes. Yes, I do have it. My Bible. This is going to be found in, where? 1 John. Ooh, I'm gonna sneeze. Trust me. If I'm about to sneeze, or if my eyes start watering, that is your sign that God is trying to say something. that's what it seems to be now. But let's see. 1 John, so it's 1 John 4:18. 1 John 4:18, and it says, love, well, it's titled The Consummation of Love, so that was a little bit interesting. I did not know it would be titled that. It says, there is no fear. Actually, let me start at verse 17. It says, love has been perfected among us in this, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. Because as he is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love. We love him because he first loved us. If someone says, I love God, and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen, how can he love God, whom he has not seen? And this commandment we have from him, that he who loves God must love his brother also. Whoever believes that Jesus is the Christ is born of God, and everyone who loves him, who begot also loves him who is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of God, that when we love God and keep his commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. Sorry, I'm just gonna keep on reading. I didn't mean to read more than that, but it's so good. But let me just stop. So really what I was wanting to read about was that verse 18, talking about that there's no fear in love, and that perfect love casts out all fear, because fear involves torment, and love, there is no torment in love. And so when you're in love, you're not afraid of it, because there's absolutely no torment in love. And then if you go into Corinthians, I think it's 1st or 2nd Corinthians, and chapter 13, the love chapter. Oh my gosh, remember when I said the building, that dream that I had with destruction, 13 meaning destruction, and how I was reading about the double calamity? That's so interesting, because it's chapter 13 that talks about love, and there's no fear because there is no torment, there is none of that in love. Love bears all things, hopes all things, believes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. Love is what doesn't fail. So, wow, love is amazing. So, if you have like a lot of anxiety or a lot of fear, a lot of that breaks off when you begin to love, when you begin to be loved. It literally melts away. It melts away. And so when, so if there's something that you're afraid of or you know is like pending, or if you have, I've been having a lot of dreams lately of running away and hiding. A lot of dreams lately of running away and hiding. And I had this one dream of I was like in this, it was almost like a church building, like but it wasn't like, it was the front of the church where there was like these rooms, and it was weird. There was glass windows, and it felt like it was like late at night, and I was with these girls. I don't know how many, it was like a couple, it was a good number of girls, and all of a sudden this robot comes and it's after us. So they all run to a room and like go into a corner. And so I try to go run in the corner with them. I'm like, if I'm among them, maybe I'll be a little bit safer if I can just like hide within all these, like around these girls. Well, no, they all left me and then go over and they leave the room. And I'm like, what's happening? And then they come back and they point their finger and tell the robot to get me. And I'm like, what the heck? And so, but for some reason there was like time for me, because at that moment when I was hiding with them, I'm like, there's no way I can get out. But for some reason I was able to get out. There was the window. I banged on the window until it broke and I ran out. And then I did like a smart move on the robot, because the robot was going at me full, like super fast. And so like I was like this and it was going like this, and then I quickly went the other direction and it just kept going. So I, like, whatever you call that, I just quickly went the other direction. And then I'm like in the woods and there's this house, and I go into this house, but I know the robot's gonna find me. Like I already know, like there's nowhere I can go. There's not enough trees. Like there was no place to hide. I couldn't hide anywhere, and I knew it. I just had to keep running. And then all of a sudden, and so I have this girl who finds me, and the meaning of her name, including the meaning of, there's actually 2 different people who show up in this dream, and their names both mean grace. She finds me, and I was trying so hard to hide. Like I literally, there was a tree trunk, and I jumped into like a tree that had, part of it had been cut down or had fallen, and so it was like hollow, and I like jumped inside of it, and then I'm like, oh, this is so gross. Like I really don't want to step in here. Like it's dark, and it's like, I don't want to have to do this, but I have to do it. So like I slunk in there and just like try to cover myself and hide, but she pulled it off. I'm like, are you serious? And then I just kept running, and I know she's behind me, but for some reason she was like giving me peace, but at the same time I was like hurting so much, because I was like, oh my gosh, like don't you know, like y'all are trying to kill me. Like y'all are literally trying to kill me. Like her and this other person that shows up, like y'all are trying to kill me. You are trying to get this robot to come and kill me. Like why? And then I end up at this like house, this abandoned house. It was like completely abandoned, and it was like so like torn up, torn down, tattered kind of house. And I went into a room and tried to hide behind the door, because I knew this other person was showing up, and I was like, that's when like ultimate fear gripped me. I was like freaking out, and the meaning of that person's name was actually companion and grace. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And then that's kind of like, I guess, when I woke up. But all I can remember, all I was feeling in the dream was fear. That's all I was feeling was fear. And then the other dream I had, I was like somewhere I wasn't supposed to be, and I tried to hide in the closet, and then this person like showed up and was like, said something like horrifying to me, like what was it, like it was so weird because it was absolutely not what I was doing. Something of like, you've been in adultery or something like that. I'm like, what the heck? I'm literally hiding in this closet because you're crazy. Anyways, so different things like that. So the gist of it is fear. And I know a lot of people are dealing with that fear. And fear, why is there fear? Because it's of danger, of torment, of punishment. That's another translation to this verse, is because fear involves torment, fear of punishment. The thing is, when you realize that you've been saved, your salvation, there is no more condemnation for you. If you're in Christ, there's no more condemnation for you. And when you choose Christ, God has grace, like that dream. There was grace for me. I was able to get out of that room. Actually, honestly, I see that as like being able to get out of certain situations that I shouldn't have been able to get out of, as grace. And then also grace as having people come and help me when I was just being ridiculous, like that. So there's that. And well, you could take that as me being ridiculous, or like me being in my right mind and just needing help. Me needing help. So yeah. Because the weird thing about that part was I wasn't afraid of the young girl that came, but it was the other girl, and that scared me. And the weird thing about that was her name was Companion, so I'm a little bit confused about that. But anyways, fear is a liar. What can I say? Yeah, fear is a liar. And like I said in my last video, the devil will try to make you be afraid of the very thing that God is calling you to. So I guess that's a companion, or whatever it is. What else was I supposed to say, God? Yeah, that running away and that hiding. There's grace in helping you get out of those situations, but also I felt a peace, like a guardian angel. There's angels around us, and so when it's a sign that people are praying for you too, because when people are praying for you, there's things happening in the spirit, and God is changing situations for you, and angels are assigned to you to protect you. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, because there really is an adversary out to get us. The devil moves around prowling like a lion, seeking whom he may devour. So that is true. And so when we're in fear, we haven't really come to the revelation of how much God loves us, and how the safest place is to be under his wings. Because when we're afraid, we're afraid because, like, when Peter, he looked away from Jesus and he looked at the storm, right, when he was walking on water, when he took his focus off of the truth, and the truth was that Jesus was right in front of him and allowing him to walk on water. That was God who was doing that. But when he took his focus off God and focused on the storm, he didn't really believe that anymore. He believed in the power of the storm and how scary it was. And then he began to drown. So you've got to have faith. Okay, without faith, it is impossible to please God. But it's like when you love, like, it makes you do crazy things, right? So like I would have never been able to do certain things that I'm doing now if I didn't know how much God loved me. Like, if I didn't know how much God loved me, I would not be wanting to like be excited. I wouldn't be excited about sharing the gospel. I wouldn't be excited about all things like that, because I wouldn't understand it, and I wouldn't really have an excitement for it. but because I know that it's true, and that in of itself is showing real love, and I've been able to like receive like God's love like by his spirit, like his presence around me, and like you can feel when someone loves you, and like when his presence, like his spirit actually touches your physical body, like you can't go back from that. Like you feel that love, and it's like, oh my gosh, you can't go back from that. And so yeah, it is intoxicating, and it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, so like when that girl found me and got me out of the tree, like she was behind me, like far off, and I was like further ahead, and I was thinking I could try to get away, that I would be able to, but I could not get away from this person. I could not get away. Kept following me. And when the dream ended, it was like doomsday. Like, I'm screwed. It's over. Like it was just pure fear. So yeah, just break off all of that fear in Jesus' name, because fear really is a liar. Fear is a liar. There is an enemy prowling around, but if you are under the Lord's wings, you run. He is your refuge. Like what have you made your refuge in life? Because you can get hurt, obviously. Bad things can happen, yes. But who are you trusting? Some trust in chariots, some trust in horses, but what is that verse? How's that verse go? But we will trust in the Lord, right? For me and my house, we will trust the Lord. So it's about who you put your trust in, because even God sees that. It's like if you run to a different tower that's not his tower, fear is gonna really grip you. But more than that, you're gonna get hurt. So and you really put your trust in the Lord, you're not gonna have that fear. You're not gonna have that fear, and what's gonna happen is you're gonna see the devil for who he is. That he's actually really small. That he really can't do to you what you think he can, and that you really are forgiven. Like, that's where the fear of the Lord comes in, because you realize that even like my verse on the wall says, it is I who created, there it is, tyranny will be far from you. You will have nothing to fear. Amen. Terror will be removed. It will not come near you. If anyone does attack you, it will not be my doing. Whoever attacks you will surrender to you. See, it is I who created the blacksmith, who fans the coals into flame and forges a weapon fit for its work. And it is I who have created the destroyer to wreak havoc. So who should we fear? We should fear the Lord. No weapon formed against you will prosper. Or this one says will prevail. And you will refuse every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and this is their vindication from me, declares the Lord. So if you are a servant of God, if you serve God, that's what you do, that's who you are, that's what you chose, then you have all the right to refute every tongue that accuses you. There's another psalm about David, about talking about correction. He's like a fool refuses correction, but a wise, now that's going into Proverbs, but like a wise man, like he receives that correction, he listens to it, but then with Psalms, there's one Psalms that talks about like how it's oil to my head, like it's what I need. It's don't let me refuse it. So there's wisdom in that. But when it comes to accusing you, that doesn't make sense, because there's forgiveness for you. And the devil, he always comes before God accusing us. I mean, you see the story of Job. He's constantly accusing Job. He was constantly accusing Job. And so the thing is, there's grace, there's forgiveness, and there is no more rights for the enemy. You can give the enemy rights, obviously, but the thing is, that's not your portion anymore. God forgives. You just have to receive it. So, you're free every tongue that accuses you. And just know that no weapon formed against you will prosper. We can let weapons form and prosper. We can let weapons prosper in our lives, but they don't have to. You have to stand and say, like, God, I know this weapons has formed, and I know you're in control, and you're teaching me something about patience. You're teaching me something about being strong in this area of my life that I'm really weak in, that I really want to give into, or, you know, all this stuff. But I'm going to stand firm, I'm going to trust you, and I know that weapon is not going to prosper. And then you're going to watch that thing melt away, right? So, yeah, the more you rest in love and, like, just pray that, like, every day, like, God, just give me compassion, give me love, you're not going to be afraid. And then the thing is, what you love is what you fight for. What you love is what you desire. What you love is what gives you life. So, and that's, yeah. So if you, if you're afraid of, like, people, for example, if you have, like, social anxiety, pray to God to give you new eyes to see, because once you start loving people, like, you really love them, that anxiety goes away pretty fast. Like, when you just think about, like, oh my gosh, like, how you love people, or how God's opening your eyes to different people, because there's a knowing that God has over people that we don't have, because we don't know everybody, but God does, and he can open our eyes to see people the way he does, and it changes everything, and that fear and anxiety really does melt away. So yeah, that's a beautiful thing. But yeah, I wasn't going to mention about those dreams at all. I wasn't going to talk about that, but that's what happened, so I can't take it back. And anyways, I really enjoyed eating dinner tonight, and we're gonna go have some cheesecake. And also, this is so funny because not only has, like, the candlelight thing been a thing, but I love listening to saxophone, and that's another thing that just seems to be, like, listening to saxophone. I love saxophone, and this is what's so funny, because when I worked for Amazon, when I was like in the, like, when it's, like, getting dark and it's storming and I don't know where in the world I am, in an unfamiliar place, and I'm, like, on a mountain somewhere in the woods or wherever I am, on those kind of days that I was working, the only thing that would help, and, you know, there's crazy dogs ready to attack me, the only thing that would help is listening to saxophone. Like, I would have my speakers in the van, and I would just, like, have it so loud, and I'm just like, the sax, and it actually, like, really helped. I don't know what it is. My dad was joking around saying, you know, you probably were made to the sound of saxophone. I'm like, well, that's a little bit too far, but you probably wouldn't be surprised. But anyways, I think saxophone is beautiful, and it's, like, because it's there's just something very calming about it, and love is like that. Love is like that. In the fiercest battle, in the scariest moments, when there's love, it's just like that gentle sound of the saxophone. Like, it just comes in and it just changes everything. So think about love like that. Think about love like that. There's a peace, and yeah. So I guess that's all I have to really say. But yeah. And turning, because God is love, turning away from him, not being with him, is a torment. That hell is separation from God. So we have a choice to make. We can choose to be with God or not. So there's a choice in that. And being separated from God and his love, what we were made for, is torment. So it's not that God's, like, just wants to torment us. No, he wants to be with us, because when he's with us, that's when that torment leaves us, because it's tormenting to be away from him. But again, it's about what you choose, because we can choose what we love. And in John, it talks about how this is the condemnation, that men loved the darkness more than they loved the light, because their deeds were evil, right? And so you have to choose what you love. You have to choose what you love. But there's nothing can compare to God's love. Like, it is so deep and it's so real. Like, it's so real. And you can never really go back when you've tasted that love and really received it. So anyways, that's all to say. And my video won't stop.